I've never found any answer why a man of God would die on a pulpit. Yeah, they were praying in a night vigil when a woman slumped down and died. Why would you die in the same place where you are seeking for protection? Now, if you've ever found yourself questioning the things that you believe in, questioning your faith, questioning your understanding, I promise you're not alone. When you find yourself doing that, it is not really out of rebellion. In most cases, it's out of wisdom, because you try to know. Most people don't care to know. Most people don't care, and they don't want to know. But now when it comes to the issue of religion, it becomes more complicated because of the subject itself. Many people shut themselves up. They don't want to talk about it because of fear of what the world will say, or fear of what will happen. And it's very understandable. A lot of things can happen because you are talking about a belief system that has been an age-long belief system. Your mom saw it, your father saw it, your grandfather saw it. You don't talk about it, and then you stood up, you want to talk about it. That means you are setting yourself for some kind of trouble. But now, when it comes to Christianity as itself, as a religion, it is even more lesser because of the nature of Christianity. But if you're talking about Islam or other religion, it can be more brutal. You can be easily indicted, and at the end of the day, they can say that you are speaking blasphemy, and at the end of the day, you will know what will happen, and then you'll be brutalized. I'm a Christian. I grew up in a very strict Christian home. My father is a Christian, my mom is a Christian. Everyone around me is a Christian. For so many years, I've lived with my parents. I've lived with my father, my dad, before he went to be with the Lord. I've never for one day saw him miss Sunday service. He never did that. And I'm a direct contrast of my father. I've never been like my father. And when what he has done was worth commendable, because I can never do that, honestly, because I already promised myself that I'm not going to be religious. All right. But it's not like I'm a good person or I'm a bad person, but that's just my choice. If you watch my previous video, as I told you, I've met a couple of people that have asked questions about certain things that I do not even really understand. And at the end of the day, the answer was so generic and very shallow that when you ask a question, then they refer you to the Bible. It's very frustrating. But don't get me wrong, I believe in the Bible and I read my Bible, but I'm not talking about spirituality here. But now, speaking about spirituality, that is where there is trouble. How our man of God died on a pulpit. That story was a very terrifying story. Even till today, I'm still thinking about it. We had this man of God, full of integrity. This man was hardworking. Everything was going well when he was posted in our church. It was cool until he was transferred into another church. So when he was transferred into another church, it didn't take much longer before we started hearing a lot of news, a lot of stories that is not really cool about him and his host church. So about how they were troubling him with a lot of problems. So the news was beginning to spiral about how he was not giving them chance to do whatever they want to do in the church. The story goes that he went there and he was telling them this is how the things should be done, and they are not agreeing with him. It wasn't up to a year, up to 1 full year in that church, this man died. The way he died was the main point, because if he had just died like every other human being died, maybe he died in his car, or in his house, or his bedroom, or anywhere else. To be very honest with you, I swear to God, I won't be making this video today because he's not the first person to die. But now, what made the matter to be worse is because he died in the church. And it's not like he died in the church, or maybe he was sitting at the back or something happened and then he died. But it's because he died on a pulpit. And it's not like because he died in the pulpit on a day that is not a Sunday service, but he died on the pulpit while preaching the word of God. Did you get my point right now? He died on the pulpit on a Sunday morning while preaching the word of God. I wasn't there when it happened, but we had the full gist from the eyewitnesses, people who were there. So when the man died, it's brought out a whole lot of chaos in our church, not in the church that it happened, but in our own church. Why would a man of God die in such a manner, in such in such a shameful manner, because I was thinking to myself, is this just how the devil, or whatever you call it, just wanted to ridicule and rubbish, the name of God, or this church, or the power of God? I was beginning to think a lot of things, and all those while, this has been a long time, more than a decade. This thing happened, and even till today, I'm still thinking about it. And the matter was, I've never found any answer why a man of God would die on a pulpit while still preaching. But there will be a lot of speculations. Okay, maybe because he had internal sickness, maybe heart attack or whatever. But now the question is, what could cause the heart attack? What could cause the internal sickness? What would cause that thing to happen in the first place? That is the question. Why would a man of God die on a pulpit? I don't know what happened. I don't know, and I've never seen anybody talk about this thing, because now think about the impact on us, the brethren, the followers, that somebody that you are putting on a pedestal, that is God's representative, that at the end of the day you will see him fall like a chicken. The question is, if a man of God, someone that you believed in, that you believe thoroughly that the word of God and the power of God was bestowed upon him, can fall in such a manner, then what will be your hope? What will be your faith? What will be your destiny of you that is just a mere follower, you that is just a mere member? So if as a Christian, or as a person, or as a churchgoer, or as a spiritual person, if you don't have, if this story did not affect, don't say it didn't affect you, all right? Don't say it didn't affect you. That would be the worst mistake that you will make, to say it didn't affect you. If Christians are not standing up to be answering such questions and taking accountability, there will be a very big problem, because this will negatively affect the people that are believing God. I know you're not going to church to be believing in the pastor or anything, but you can still go to church without any pastor preaching, without anybody standing up, to precede the meeting. There will be a lot of people that will be backsliding every single day, because when you brush off the question and say it didn't matter, to be very honest with you, you are making a very big mistake, because it matters. Now, I've heard a story, a very big story, but I wasn't there when it happened. But I heard this from a very prominent man of God. I won't mention his name. So it was on a knife jail, that somebody in a very heat of prayer, when a woman slumped down and died, they prayed and prayed and prayed, trying to wake her up, but he didn't wake up. There was no way. He didn't wake up. And then, if you're in that church, you want to ask yourself a lot of questions. Why would you want to ask yourself a question like what's going on? Why would you die in the church? Among all the reasons why you go to the house of God is, to have protection from God. Why would you die in the same place where you are seeking for protection? We have heard this story over and over again, that people went to church and then they were invaded, and then they lost their lives. They were killed in the church and they all died. I know this is just a part of mishaps of lives, but at the end of the day, what are you going to tell people that are not going to church at all, that are in the house resting? Are you going to tell them the next time to come to church? All right, are you going to tell them to come to church? Because they will be like, thank God I didn't go to church. That is why I'm still alive today. Because for not going to church that day have saved their lives. I hope you understand my point. These are two people, Mr. A and Mr. B. Mr. A told Mr. B to come to church. Then Mr. B didn't go to church. Mr. A went to the church and then shot dead by the Fulani herdsmen, while Mr. B was still in the house resting. At the end of the day, he heard the news of how Mr. A was shot down in the church. Then tell me, what will be the next reaction and the next action of Mr. B? Would you ever convince him to come to church the next time? You can never try that. You can never try that. Alright, so thank you so much for watching this video. If you know any answer, this is a huge question. So if you know the answer of what will solve this problem, this is a global problem. It's a global problem, to be very honest with you. If you know the answer, please drop it in the comment section. I really appreciate you for watching and still sticking around to this time. Thank you so much for watching this video. And I still remember my name, Chinoso Aguse. And I'm still going to catch you up in the next one.